Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we're actually in Copperdale, building a one-story home. I'm going to call this, I think, a realistic family home because it seems a little bit more realistic than a lot of my other builds. This seems like a very standard American suburban single-story ranch type home. Now, I was working off of a floor plan. I think this was actually, this whole house design was like a 1940s house plan. And it was so interesting because you could build it as a cape, which was pretty small, actually. It didn't have like the garage and the attached dining room and this little bump out off to the right. You could just have it as like a square. And there was also the possibility of adding on all those other components, and there's a basement. And I thought to myself, well, floor plans never translate to The Sims appropriately, but I really like the very simple shape of this build. And I was talking to my dear friend Rachel Ped, who, by the way, is doing a Copperdale save file. It's going to be like an 80s save file. It's giving Stranger Things vibes. And if that is something that you all enjoy, you need to go check it out. She was actually the, like, if I were to tier the inspiration, I may have found this inspiration image, but Rachel was like the inspiration because she just started that save file. She did a starter home that was a single story home for like a single mom. It's adorable. It was adorable. I don't know how she makes starters look so good, and I also don't know how she makes single story homes look so nice. So I was inspired, and I really wanted to try to replicate this one that I found. So as you can see, we have the exterior shape together, and I used those, oh, what are they called? Is that a trellis? Is that? I don't know what it's called. The crisscross applesauce thing that goes basically on the side of your house with like the vines growing up of it, up the side and stuff. I don't, what is it called? Somebody give it a name because I don't remember anymore. It's basically in every 80s movie, which is kind of funny, but it was pictured like that in the reference image. And basically what I did is, since those attached to walls, is I just temporarily put up walls and then added those so it looks like they're actually supporting the little roof over the front door. It looks like a nice detail near that porch. And to be frank, this is probably the first time I've had a full house plan with the floor plan and everything actually translate pretty well to The Sims. Now, I did make a very slight amendment. Essentially, these two end pieces, the garage and the little like extended piece off to the right, I didn't make those flush, right? This is just a day. I don't have words. I don't have names for things. I don't know words. So I didn't make them essentially aligned with the back of the house because, as you probably saw on the floor plan, it's just one single line in the back. And I was like, that's a bit too much. So I extended them just a little tiny bit to give this build a touch more dimension. And I also added a back porch. So those are the only amendments really. I think maybe with the floor plan, there are slight amendments. I think where there's like a closet or something, I've put a bathroom. But for the most part, I stuck to the floor plan and I was shocked that it worked. It's a little bit cramped, which is why I think it's more of a realistic home as well. Like, things are very congested, but the basement is just a bonus space and I love what I did with it. So this is for a family of 4, which I don't even know if I mentioned. So we have 2 parents, a child, and then a toddler, because I have been doing a lot of infant nurseries. And you know what? The toddlers have been neglected. So this family has a toddler. And they also have a cat, which I decided later on as I was decorating the build. But it was a challenge. Just because I made it work does not mean it wasn't difficult at all. My main challenge was the living room and kitchen space because they are very, very small. I was going to go with a more open floor plan, but I did notice that a lot of these older builds, like maybe 1940s, 1950s, at least in the house plans that I've seen in perusing Pinterest and Google Images and architecturedesigns.com, they're very closed off. They're not as open. They don't have these big open spaces. Every room is very like diced up. And that's difficult to work with, that you don't have a lot of space. You have a lot more space when you have less walls up, essentially. But that was the main challenge because I didn't know how I was going to lay out either of those spaces and really have the room for everything. So I started with the living room. I knew I wanted there to be a fireplace because in a lot of older builds, there were fireplaces, something I desperately wish that I had in my house. I really, really do. I want a fireplace and or a wood burning stove. Actually, I want both. I do want both. There's no room for both in my house without major reconstruction, so it's not going to happen, but I really, really wish that I could have both in my house. But it was difficult to kind of lay it out, but what I decided was to kind of steer away from my standard layout, which is getting the couch right in front of the television. And I thought to myself, in going to like maybe friends' houses or other relatives' houses when I was younger, things were not laid out like that. Like the couch wasn't directly in front of the television. You might have it off to the left or right-hand side, and someone in that family, or someone in my family, someone in my friend's family, you know, whatever the case was, there was always an armchair that belonged to like one member of the family, right? So I thought, let's put a kind of newer small TV on top of the mantle. That's basically the family TV. And the couch and this armchair essentially don't really face the television. It's not your standard layout, but I think it worked really nicely, considering that there is going to be a couple of half walls and some open, are they called freezes? No, those are things on the outside of the house. What are they called? I basically made my own archway. See, like I'm losing words. I am losing words today. I don't know what it is. As I'm recording this, it's actually later in the evening. I typically do my voiceovers during the day when there's light outside. Maybe I'm just in a different mindset because it's a little bit later in the evening and I've run out of words for the day. But anyway, the decorations are very light because I knew it was going to be congested and I kind of wanted it to be a little mismatchy. I didn't want things to look perfect, which is very challenging for me personally. It's like an impulse, I think, to really make things match. But once I get in the groove of putting things down that are mismatched, I feel a lot better. Like I get in a certain headspace and I'm able to work with it. So I was really, really excited about how these two spaces came out in particular, and it really gave me the inspiration for the rest of the build. Now, at first, I tried to do a 4-seater table here. I think it would have worked. I would have had to play test it. I think it would have worked, but honestly, it just didn't look that great to me. Not after I got the columns and the spandrels. Spandrels, that's the word. The columns and the spandrels, once I got those up, it just looked way too congested. I didn't like it at all. It was really bothering me. And through those French doors, technically with the floor plan that I found, that's where the dining room was, but I thought it would be too small. And then thinking about how this 4-seater table here was way too small, I was like, we're going to give it a shot. So I do keep it here, but basically in the next cut, we end up in that dining space. And that's what I do, is I add a full dining table. Now, there could be some navigation issues depending on how many Sims you had sitting down in these chairs at once. But in my playtesting, I didn't have a problem. So hopefully you don't either. I would be bummed. But that does happen sometimes as well. I do my best to playtest my builds. But sometimes when you download them from the gallery and place them in your game, it just doesn't work. And I don't know why that is, but it bums me out. And I probably bums other people out too when you download the build and you're like, well, they said it worked, and then it doesn't. So hopefully it works for you. But I did add this full dining table, which I thought was great. And then we move on to this entryway. I did consider adding a standing piano. It would have made sense, but I was thinking like more realistic family home. I don't know how many homes that I went to growing up of like friends or family members that had standing pianos. Like having an instrument like a piano, whether it was a grand piano or just a standing piano, actually seemed like a bit more of a luxury item. I did have some older relatives that maybe had smaller pianos that they had inherited from their like great grandparents or something, you know, but I didn't see a lot of them. So I didn't add one here. That was my logic. I could be completely wrong, but that was my logic. And the entryway is very plainly decorated. There's not much there. And I realized I added a dog statue, but I gave this family a cat. So it would have made more sense to put a cat statue. Oh well, I guess. You can swap it out if that's important to you, but this is going to be the primary bedroom, and I knew it was going to be a challenge because every bedroom is the same size. So the primary bedroom is the room that is the most awkwardly laid out, in my opinion. It's rough. We've got the dresser right up, or the wardrobe right up against one side of the bed. There's only one side table. We have a standing mirror. We have an ottoman. It's just really cramped. Thankfully, there's the scoot feature and things like that, so it does work perfectly fine, but it was a challenge to try to get a double bed with a dresser in that room. And then I quickly decorate one of the 2 bathrooms, and this is important. There is a second bathroom. No, wait. Oh my gosh, no, I'm lying. I intended to make a second bathroom, and then I didn't because I was trying to stay true to this floor plan. So no, there's one bathroom. It's a bit rough with the family of 4. It's a little bit challenging, especially with like a toddler. So you have to try to potty train them, and it takes forever every time you go to sit a toddler on the toddler potty. And if somebody else has to go to the bathroom, like, good luck, because we're busy potty training. So it is a full bathroom. We've got a shower tub combo in there because of said toddler. And then we move on to the kids' room. Now, this is when the real mismatching began. And I was so happy. I was so thrilled with how this turned out. I genuinely was so proud of this room. And then I carried that mismatching vibe right into the toddler room. And when I say mismatch, I mean, there are some colors that are pretty consistent, but I was mixing patterns. I was mixing different colors. I was just trying to make it look fun. I just wanted it to be super, super fun. And it really started with these curtains and this dresser that I never use. The dresser specifically. Never use this dresser. I think it's from the movie Hangout stuff pack. Is that correct? And then when I started layering the rugs, I'm like, okay, all right, I know what we're doing here. We're about to go nuts. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go nuts with these fun, bright colors, pinks and purples and turquoises and blues and greens, and I just loved it. It's very overstimulating, but like, it's really cool, in my opinion. I really, really, really like it. And I was thinking that this kid is a very creative kid, so they've got a creativity table that I end up adding. And it was really important that I gave them this desk from Growing Together because it's got like all the little craft supplies and like works in progress that are pinned up on a little clothesline there. I just thought it was adorable. I added wall decals and posters and just so many things. And even though this kid is also very creative, I felt as though they really loved animals. So maybe their family cat, and I added cat decals, which I thought was just funny. I had cat decals. I think the family cat was like a stray kitten that this child quite literally came home from school with. Maybe they were walking from the bus stop at the end of the road and they were walking home and they encountered this kitten and they were like, well, you're mine now. And my parents can't say no because I'm keeping you and I'm going to love you forever. And the parents quite literally couldn't say no because they know how much their kid loves animals. So that's how they ended up with the family cat. And I thought that was kind of a nice little story and a little bit of character to add to the family that lives here that I envisioned living here. Now, on the note of the cat, though, there's no cat bed anywhere in this house. Because the cats and dogs, honestly, they sleep wherever they want. In The Sims 4, I've noticed that. They sleep quite literally wherever they want, even if you have a pet bed. So I didn't put a cat bed. And so here's going to be the toddler room. I finally got to use this bed from Life and Death. When I saw that we got this toddler bed with that expansion, this is the cutest toddler bed we have. I say that almost every time we get a new one, genuinely. But like the little string lights above it and the different comforter swatches, it's so cute. I wanted to go with one that didn't have skulls all over it. Just wasn't the theme I was going for. So I chose this particular swatch that had like the moon and stars on it and stuff. And you saw me add that mat down because that's when I add the food bowl and I decide they're going to have a cat. That's pretty much where that came from at that point. And we've got some orange woods. We have blues and greens and I don't know, different variations of blue actually throughout this entire room. Like the wallpaper is kind of different. It was so much fun to just make these rooms, I don't know, very, very vibrant, like really, really just fun. That's all I was going for, is just fun. I wanted chaos. I wanted these rooms to look like they were very much lived in by these kids, and that the parents didn't care too much about having like nice matchy furniture or anything. They were just like, you know what, let's make this a ball. Let's make this our kids' safe haven. I just thought it was such a nice idea, and I loved layering this frog rug. I have not used this frog rug in way too long. God, it was good to see it again. It was so good to see it. I also added a changing table. We've got a rocking chair because though you can't rock your toddlers or infants well, you can give infants a nap and you can sit in the rocking chair, but you can't rock your toddlers to sleep. But I'm thinking that maybe this toddler recently became a toddler. You could also have an infant in here and just swap out the toddler bed for a crib. So there's a little bit of versatility there as well, if that's the route you wanted to take. But I'm just adding a couple more decorations here as well. Just little pieces of artwork and little mementos and night lights and all this kind of fun stuff to make it really, really, well, fun. I sound like a broken record. I also added the toddler blocks and I sized down this little dollhouse as well. And then we move on to the garage. I don't know why I say it like that. You know what it is? It's when I play games with my dear friends Reese and Rach, when we're playing like Demonologist or Phasmophobia or something, and the ghost is in the garage. I always just say, oh, it's in the garage. And I don't know why I say it that way. It's just instinct at this point. Anyway, we're in the garage, and I just added a ton of things to make it look like it's full of junk, honestly. Like junk and random things. But we've got like the kid's bike. We have this little like toddler wagon, which I thought was cute. And then I also added a water boiler and a circuit breaker box, because I wanted this to be a little bit more of a realistic house, and those things would absolutely exist in a house. And I also put the litter box out here for the cat. I did not forget, and I knew I wasn't going to have space in that bathroom. It was already being shared by 4 Sims. We were not going to be able to make it amenable to the cat as well. There was literally no way I was going to be able to do that, especially with the addition of the toddler potty. And then I also add a punching bag. So there's another activity that's here. We've got like the cooler that you could take, the soccer ball. Like there's a few different things that you can take out of this garage that are actually functional. And now we have moved on to the basement. I used this tent from the Little Campers kit, as well as like the Don't Wake the Yeti, and this cool dollhouse from Growing Together, another toy box. And then I just added some really worn down older items that maybe this is like the original furniture they had upstairs in the living room before they got like the new couch or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just old stuff from like one of the parents' apartments years and years ago from when they moved in with one another. I'm just trying to think of rationale, but I thought it was really nice because the parents can sit down here on this ratty old couch. They can be listening to music. The child could be scribbling little pieces of artwork, and the infant could be doing tummy time on the little playmat. There's a stereo down here so they can listen to music. Like it was just another family hangout spot that can grow with the family. And I thought that was such a nice idea. And then I also added in these more modern closets down here too for some additional storage, in theory, of course. And then this is what I thought I had made into a bathroom, but I absolutely did not. I just made it into a utility room, like a laundry room. That's when I add the vacuum upstairs in the garage. Maybe a weird place to keep it, but there really was no other place. And I added the washer and dryer down here. We've got like a utility sink from the Artist Studio kit, actually. Not the standard one that I would put in something like this would be from maybe Dine Out, but I liked this one a little bit better. And we've got some shelving with just some laundry items. I put that clock from Strangerville over the washer and dryer eventually, but I also added this custom, I can't really say custom, it's from Horse Ranch. Did you guys just hear my cat? Because she was just screaming at me from the hallway, and now she just came into my office and she might scream again. So be prepared. I'm not cutting it out. But anyway, I added some like infant clothes hanging from that quote unquote wardrobe from Horse Ranch, just to add a little bit more detail. And then we end up moving on to the backyard, which I really wanted to add a treehouse to. But those tree houses are so freaking big, man. Like, why is the tree house from Growing Together so huge? It quite literally wouldn't fit in this backyard in a way that would make sense. I was devastated. But then I also kind of brought myself back down to earth a little bit. And did I know anybody who had an actual tree house like that growing up? I did not. It didn't seem like a very standard, realistic suburban experience. I don't know. Maybe the movies growing up kind of fooled me, thinking that everybody should have like this magnificent treehouse. I also read the Magic Treehouse books, and I really wanted a treehouse when I was a kid. But anyway, didn't fit in this backyard, so I just worked on the landscaping. I end up adding, I want to say, a swing set, a picnic table. I think we end up with a grill on this back porch as well. And there's like, I think there's 2 camping chairs, like folding chairs for the parents. I thought that they could be watching their kiddo on the swing set out in the backyard. We've got a picnic basket that I put out here. And then I think there's like the bucket of balloons from Seasons that I always forget exists and never have my Sims play with, unfortunately. And there's hopscotch and a basketball hoop out in the front. I just thought it was so cute. And I planted catnip and a bunch of other things in those planters in the front yard. And they're already blossoming. Like, I cheated the growth stage. So you'll have catnip if you have a family with a cat in this house. I thought that was kind of a nice detail. I never do anything like that. And I've never had my Sims actually grow catnip before because I completely forgot we could do that. And it was a fun little detail that I couldn't get out of my head. I also added the wild rabbit stump because maybe the kiddo, because they love animals, would go crazy about the wild rabbits. Anyway, we're at the end of the build almost. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Seems like you've been busy since you went away. I'm just flipping through your pictures, I can tell you look more than okay. Think I need help to feel as happy as you. Could you tell me what I'm supposed to do without you? It's like I'm just